Hi, I'm Kawa, and this is QWA Podcast. In this show, we invite friends from the architectural fraternity for a casual conversation. From design think tank to integrated practice, we discuss the trials and tribulations of architectural pursuit. We hope this informal sharing will spark conversation among the listeners. Let's begin. Hello, everyone. In this episode, I think we are intrigued because we have architect Azizul Azwar from Azizul Azwar Architect, a new friend. I think we just know each other in the past few years, I guess. But he is an exceptional individual, and we are very fortunate to have him today. So, how are you doing today, Azwar?
Hey, Kawa. Alhamdulillah, I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. Sorry,
Alright.
It's a long break, it's a long weekend, and catching you traveling here and
Yeah,
there. And you are also a busy man
yeah, yeah.
yourself. Maybe we can start with description of your business entity or multi ACPs that you are associated with. Go ahead.
All right. Thank you, Kawa, for having me today in this lovely session. So, currently, I have three architecture consultancy practice. So, first is Azizul Azwar Architect, which is a sole prop architect. Of course, I'm the architect for the firm. Second, IPM Professional Services Nembahat is actually a multidisciplinary practice
Mhm.
where I'm one of the architecture director in the firm. Thirdly, was the new firm that we formed is it's called Trans Regional Architecture Group or TAG TAG. So at that firms, I'm the acting managing partner. So we have like at the moment five architects around Malaysia, Peninsular Malaysia, participate in the practice. So our services is like any other firms, Kawa,
Mm.
but with few niche skills. Like we have GBI skill, those are skills in GBI, like myself as a facilitator. We have BIM, like Mizam, one of the firms. We have all building inspections as one of the directors in IPM itself.
Mhm.
And we have drone inspection. We also provide drone services. And yeah, we have 3D data capture. So we would like to talk about that later.
Right.
Yeah.
So a quick browse on your website, there is sort of like a category with inverted comma on both ends, pemutihan. And I'm sure it's a bit more relatable to public lah, I would say, to obtain
Mm.
approval for their construction or renovation for their building. Why do you think this
Mm.
process is important? Because I'm sure you're already aware there's a lot of building are being constructed or renovated without authority approval.
Yeah. So just to be clear, pemutihan here is actually is not literally means you got make the building white, right?
Mm,
So pemutihan here means you're gonna clean a scene of a buildings, as
mm,
simple put like that. So meaning said the building was constructed illegally, or what we call it bangunan haram lah, right?
mm,
So haram in this context, actually the buildings was constructed being used by the occupants without legal approval. For example, they don't have building plan approval, they don't have structure plan approval, they have bomber approvals, and they don't even have like as simple as kebenaran merancang. So those are the things that have to be cleared or obtained at early beginning. But how why I involved in pemutihan so much because if you remember in 2017
mhm,
there was a fire incident that broke the media. Actually, there's I think 20 plus students, if I'm not mistaken, 23 students,
mm,
Tafis. that were killed in fire due to poor safety consideration in the building itself. So since then, the Plan Malaysia, Malaysian Institute of Planners, MIP, local authorities, Bomber, and PAM recently joined forces to ensure the building are safe. Not just safe, comfortable be in the area, but safe if there's a fire breakdown, then people can get out as much as we can. So since I get a hold or I was informed about the program, I told myself I want to be part of that. Either if I can't be part of the program or the one who organize or manage or create the SOP for the pemutihan, at least I'm one contributing to get the building putih, right? So as what you show, you playing just now, one of the part of the building. So those are actually toughies. Most of the project that I did was actually toughies because there's actually about 500 toughies in Selangor alone, and most of it are not obtained, it's not obtained building plan approval and not even safe to be occupied. So yeah, I want to be part of it to contribute at least to make sure those occupants are safe in that building. Yeah.
Besides safety, is there any other benefit of legalizing buildings? Because they might say, "Oh, I built a house myself, never it's still standing after a few years or 10 years or whatever amount of years." And how do we make that benefit a little bit more apparent to building owners? Is there a financial motivation to ensure their building is legal?
Well, to be honest, all the all the fees for the pemutihan program is subsidized, right? Pro bono. But of course, most of the fees they said they're going to pay us, architects, planners, and for the pemutihan program. But the fees is not as much as compared to normal other buildings, right? Which is understandable. They don't really have the money or collections to pay for the consultant, let alone to get the full CCCs. Most of them can't afford it. They have to comply with certain regulations to obtain the approval. For example, those are buildings was developed on tanah pertanian, for example, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
they have to
So
change the for them to operate. So those are benefits that yeah, it's not just on fire alone, but it's overall the building is legal. Entah apa ni.
right. The thing with that I have not issues lah, but concern with how our building law work is how thin, how fragile the veil of CCC. Meaning it doesn't have any. I mean, it's sort of like a clear and thin plastic wrapping the building, and any extension beyond that might revoke or might make the CC invalid. So I see that you are working on scanning building, capturing them into a 3D model. Is there a way these two could meet? Because usually CCC are verified upon submitted drawing, which may or may not representative of the one that is built on site. So how do you see 3D scanning or data capture come into the picture?
Well, first of all, how I involved in 3D data capture is quite interesting actually. So I get to know the technology when I was engaged in one of the project in Tafis, because we are conducting the S-built building. So one of the person who my friend happened to be operating the system of 3D data capture. So I said, hey, why don't we use it for the Tafis? Right. So then we try the system and it really helps. So since then we'll be capturing data for numbers of buildings that wanted to accurately being recorded. For example, we have recorded refinery buildings where all the pipes, if you notice, We have data capture, data center. We have plumbing, mechanical rooms with all the machines, plumbing, or the NAS that have to be captured accurately.
Mhm.
So, so moving forward, we don't just uh, capture the building. Uh, uh, we don't just complement it. It's actually a complementing completed building based on the approved plan.
Mhm.
For example, when you submitted a building plan, right? So when during construction, it might be changed. So when we have a 3D data capture of the completed building, so we can always compare to the submitted plan. So that we is the monitoring process by the local authority or even bomber actually. So so in future, we can actually have a site visit for inspection, cost control, quality inspection, or even safety purposes, and many more actually. So we have some developers offer us for to do the what we call it data capture for their show unit, right? So we can have a potential buyer to visit the house, like they are in the house, they can walk freely. So they want to go to that room, want to spend some time in that room. They don't have to go to the office anymore. So that's the beauty of it, right? So though I must say at the moment that the tag is actually considered good to have. Actually, it's not rather than just must have. But give
Mm.
it time. I think someday it will be in it. During the pandemic, I have to share with you.
Uh,
During the pandemic, there was time that we have to monitor or visit a few toughies, like the one I shared before. But you know the pandemic, we cannot easily go to the cross district, right?
mm.
Not it's even hard to go out of the house. So what we did was we actually managed to get the meeting letter at that particular time.
Mhm.
We sent two people to the site to capture data, and then we upload in the cloud, and then we invite the local authorities and the other technical agencies to the site even when they are at their home at the time. So the inspection was done from their own office, from
Mm.
their home house, actually. It's like we're visiting the house. So if they want to see the site longer, we can always spend time there. We can measure the distance. So it
Mm.
solved the most of the problem at that time.
Right.
Yeah.
I think you are one of the rare breed of architects that like to share their opinions with public, and I'm sure you have a lot of writings that have gone to several publications as well. And I just wonder, how do you choose a topic that you want to write on? Is it like has to be a personal experience, or is it like spurs of the moment, what's happening at that particular timeline?
Well, so all my topics, if you see, they're based on three categories. First is actually on the first personal experience,
Mhm.
right? Second, based on requests by some of the readers. So
Mm.
if they have requests on certain topics, that I can always write for them. And thirdly, based on what I can think of possible might happen due
Mm.
to certain encounter at either at site or either from the post that I read from somewhere else,
Mm.
right? So on the personal experience, of course, I cannot write too much on it because it will expose partly on my client.
Mm.
So if I want to write about my personal experience, I always ask the client, can I write about this topic or this topic?
Mm.
But yeah, of course, I have to change a little bit the names, location, things like that with their approval. If they allow it, then I will use their particular issues for the topic. Um, Based on requests, sometimes there are readers that um, text me personally. to write something or something they don't know or something they want to know more when they are doing their house or renovations, how to pay, how much to spend, what to expect, things like that. So I'm writing uh, in that request.
mm,
And sometimes when I went back home and when I read something and I think, oh, this is something that I haven't thought about it. I think it's good to let people know about it. So I write about it or something that I think it might be benefit to others. So normally, I prepare the topic first. I
right.
don't write it rightly on it, but of course I'm not that what we call it fluent in writings. So when I want to write, so I'm gonna write a topic first,
Mhm,
the topic or the title, like kos bina rumah, for example, ataupun um, cara-cara elak rumah roboh, for example. So I write it a topic first. Secondly, if I have time, I write the contents or the points of the topic
mm,
so that I will not forget what I'm going to write about, right? And then later, if I, and then I will take few days or maybe few weeks. So I'm going to write the full contents of it. So the full content sometimes it takes like 1 week or 2 weeks. Sometimes it takes months to complete.
mm,
So yeah, depend on how free I am. Sometimes I write about when I was waiting for my client. Sometimes before sleep. Sometimes everything if I have ideas on the topic, so I just write anytime I can lah.
mm,
Right. And then uh and then lastly I'm gonna check with the act or law or regulation or bylaws or article that relevant to that topics lah. Of course I have to always proofread. So at least I do like 2 or 3 proofreads before I schedule for posting.
mm.
So yeah.
So I would consider this kind of content is kira macam content berat lah. I'm not so sure about Malaysian and how they perceive,
Yeah.
but some do has like
Yeah.
ada lah juga implode in certain topics. But out of this sharing
Mm.
kan, is there any positive feedback or do you see any positive development? For example, people a little bit more careful when they want to buy a house, renovate a house, a bit more careful, engaging contractors. Do you
Mm.
see a shift out of those writing or any positive impact lah?
Yeah. Yeah. Actually I see many trends have changed actually. Seems my writings are being engaged or being close with some many contractors, especially from Pantai Timur.
Mm,
So those contractors in Pantai Timur normally they do design and build.
mm,
Then they try to get someone to sign for them.
mm,
So knowing that I'm writing in that manner that I discourage design by contractor
mm,
and get someone to sign, some of the contractor has stopped doing it and they show support to me. So I
mm,
really appreciate that. And yeah, one of the sweetest moment that I remembered being writing was when during the pandemic, if you remember, there was a time um, one of the action PKPD, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere in KL, what they did was they installed barbed wire on the fire staircase.
mm,
All right. It was highlighted by a friend of us, Agita Azimin. So he highlighted in one group, so I noticed it. I will have nothing to do. I was in quarantine center
mm,
at that time. I look at the media, I look at the Bernama newspapers, online news. I think, hey, this is not right, right? So I write about it in like maybe half an hour. I do the copywriting, I post it, and it went viral.
mm,
So in just I got text after that from Bernama and Malaysia Kidney. They contact me, want to use my contents to be published in their media. So I allow that. And I've been contacted by a few person in charge for that particular action, a particular matter, and within 3 hours, the barbed wire was removed. And I was relieved actually. I was happy that it was done in such way. Of course, there's some people backfire, which is I don't care about it. So what I want is actually the building was safe, is safe during that time, because little that people know, actually few days before the action was the installing of barbed wire was done, actually there's a fire happened in Taiwan that in a hotel on the quarantine center where they closed all the staircase. Right. So the fire, so you imagine if that happened in Malaysia, so who will get blamed? Yeah? So no one's advising that. I was happy that the action was done. The remedial action was done quite fast.
Right. I think there is a what do you call it as a wider acceptance because you write in Malay, you write in bahasa to a more because you punya status pun arkitek profesional berasal dari Besut. So I think maybe because of that people can relate a little bit more.
Uh, uh,
Kan? So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
how about like bring some of this content to TikTok ke YouTube where you know this kind of content might be consumed a little bit more
Yeah.
sebab ada professionals yang I nampak actually do this is doctors lah. Lawyers I'm not so sure, accountants I don't see much, architects pun tak memang macam tak wujud. I think doctors lah yang banyak on TikTok as a professional. Do you think people actually dahagakan like content yang actually can make difference in their life, not livelihood lah, but at least their home, their house, understanding how building law works. Ada plan tak
Yeah.
to migrate?
Well, that's a good question. Actually, I've been thinking about it lah. But just to be clear, Kawa, I mean, somebody said to me, actually, English is actually language for opportunity. Malay is actually language for unity, right? So if you want to reach more, actually you go for English, like, right? But in Malaysia, it doesn't work that way, right? If you even go for TikTok, right? You see many people, non-Malay, is advertising in Malay actually.
Yeah.
So they are reaching more.
Yeah.
In especially in Malaysian context lah, right? I believe our neighbor Indonesia also doing the same. Okay, so yeah, doing in Malay actually helped me to reach more. Kan, benda tu dia senang faham. I'm using a simple language. Sometimes I mix the terms between architect, engineer. I tak sebut jurutera. Jurutera macam susah orang sebut. Biasa orang sebut engineer. So it's actually a term that is easy to and people selalu sebut engineer instead of jurutera, right? So those kind of words lah I've been combining, I've been experimenting. So for your question, have I considered going to TikTok or not? Yes, I did actually. Just that the content in TikTok, for example, it took a lot of effort to publish. For example, you need to record the session, and then you need to, what we call it, edit.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have your subtitles, sometimes you have to have like pictures, text, and then you have to have song if you want to have it. All right, and then you have to be in it. So yeah, that's one thing. And then you have to schedule for posts. Like I myself, I have to schedule the post in Facebook. It's easier. Every week I have one post coming, so I don't have to post every day. So in TikTok, normally people go for something that fancy or entertaining or something that visible, something that they can visualize. For example, in architecture, you want to show design for ID, they will be interested in that.
Right.
They will show something that damaged or retak or building they'll be interested to see that. It's really hard for me to do it because the content itself might expose my client to other public, right? Yeah, so as a professional, it's really hard for me to do it. uh, because some of my content, which is about half of it, actually based on my personal experience.
Mm.
So we cannot expose too much. That's why I just take glimpse of the image, sometimes certain angle which do not, which even sometimes my client pun didn't recognize. Oh, this is my side anyway.
So early on, you did mention, yeah, you are the managing partner for Trans Regional Architecture Group. So, and you also mentioned there are 5 professional architects serving different parts of the country. So maybe you want to share a bit, how does that actually work? Because definitely it's not easy to, have managing one particular physical office. Now you have 5 or more in different
Uh,
locality. So maybe you can share a bit
yeah,
your experience.
yeah. Um, and the how we came to the idea is actually one of the time I was invited to offer a service to one particular private client
Mhm.
in 5 different locations.
Mm,
So it's all in Semenanjung.
mm,
So just that we don't have the capability to offer our service. So the client was so we call it they try to find that a firm with that established. Since we
mm,
don't have that, so we just offer us to one of the project at one of the area that we are familiar with, which is at that particular time Selangor.
mhm,
So from there, I was thinking that if we have a pool of architects, friendly architects who can work with me and I can work with them, but I know them personally. So why not we just form a firm that
mhm,
throughout the regions, if possible, throughout Malaysia.
mhm,
So I throw the idea to some of my friends that I knew of. So Alhamdulillah, they took it very with open arms. They
mhm,
said there's some we can share the what we call it the skills. So that's why we can have a firm in Johor that providing a GBI, which is I can offer GBI in Johor. So my partner in JB, if they want, they have like a GBI project, they can offer that service to a client. So I will be assist them, for example.
mhm,
Or if my partner in Terengganu want a building that have a client that insists of the usage of BIM, so
mhm,
we have skills in BIM, so we can offer that we can complement the project in Terengganu. So in that sense, we can always assist each other on how to. So sometimes when we are overburdened, like we have too many projects in hands, but it's too risk to it's like, but the client really want to appoint us for that particular project, but there's so many to project in hands. So what we can do is actually we can help our partners by say preparing drawing, site visit, attending projects, and evaluating costs, things like that. And that's what people say actually. Um, this is such a big sea in architecture,
mhm,
and if you are not well versed enough, so you might find little fish to catch.
mhm,
So what we have to do is actually either you improve your ship or you
mhm,
improve you widen your net so
mhm.
that you can grab as much as you can, even there's just a small fish lah. So that's what we did. We try to learn more, have more skills, we have more manpowers, or we have more facilities or connections in one roof so that we can reach more. So that was one of the, I mean, the idea how we formed the tag, or we call it Trans-Regional Architecture Group.
This is not a common practice, meaning uh, because
Mm.
architect has their own ego per se, and this level of collaboration is fairly rare. Even though it happens
Mm.
sometimes, there must be a lot of behind the scene negotiation. But I guess collaboration is a little bit more palatable to the younger generation since we are
Mm.
trying to balance the scale or opportunity per se. And do you think this is sort of like some
Mm.
of the innovation that might happen in the next 10 years? More architects collaborating, uh, what do you call it? Uh, funneling resources, decentralizing resources, and offering services with that kind of synergy. Even though, as you mentioned, now the JB branch or the JB counterpart can also offer GBI and the rest as well. Do you think this is a model that we can explore, or you think the next 10 years things gonna still work the same?
I think the idea of collaborating have been there for quite some times actually.
Mm,
So I talked to some of the senior architects. They said they have collaborated, but then yeah, there's something that stuck. That maybe because of the breakdown of fees, maybe a breakdown of the scope of work.
mm,
So those kind of things that stops them from continuing
mm,
to work in collaborations. So we try to avoid that on the how much we pay, on what are the scope. We have to be clear out things like that, in the way that we can collaborate with our partners. Yes, I think in the future the demand to collaborate is always there
mm,
because not everyone cannot do everything. So
mm,
there's so many things to explore. There's so many technologies that we cannot you cannot be everywhere, right?
mm,
But it's good that you have a set of skills that you can offer in your company that brings value to the to the project and the company itself, and get being paid for it.
mm.
So, and then there's some characters of our teams. Some would like to be known. For example, they want to have fame,
Right.
right? So some just want to help. Uh, they just love to do drawings, but they don't want to be in the to engage with clients, something
Mm,
like that.
mm,
Some will, have more skills in designing,
mm,
and then they love to have side meetings to see the details. So in a way, it's complement the firm
mm,
actually. So where we are actually. So we have to have the right uh, uh, holes to fill,
mm,
or a position to fill.
mm,
You cannot have everyone that love to be in design, so many that no
mm,
one's going to execute the project aside.
mm.
So those formula have to be balanced and to be considered when we design a firm. I mean, when we are forming a firm. Yes, I think the future might be on that direction. So I also think that there's a need for staff
Mm,
to start working from home actually.
mm,
So they're not really look into to work under a firm from say 8 to 5 or
mm,
9 to 6, right? So they love flexi hours since the pandemic. When we send them home to work at their own time, they love working on the project basis.
mm,
And some of my students that I paid a lot, sorry, some of my staff that I paid a lot more compared to when they work somewhere else in the study office.
mm,
For example, for part one students, a
mm.
diploma, that used to get paid about 6,000 to 12,000 per month
Wow.
during when we deliver a project.
Mm,
So the our staff was happy to deliver that kind of job, being in that position.
mm,
They love being in that, have the flexibility, and they love being responsible for their own job. Right?
mm,
But then, of course, we have to guide them. The technology have to be there. Right? But yeah, sometimes we get bad apples, right?
mm.
Those who have been given a task who didn't deliver. Yeah, that's also you have to know how to handle them. I mean, quite straightforward lah. Right.
Right. So despite all that innovation, at the end of the day, it boils down to people's management. The you know the not
That's
say
correct.
the
Yeah, yeah.
very basic, but the human factor lah, still within the consideration.
Yeah, yeah. Mm.
So maybe we since we are
Correct.
in that topic, right? So is there any like expectation that you put on your architectural graduate that come into your office? And just on that side note, is moonlighting is a concern when you give that level of liberty, or is not, as long as they what they call it, deliver their work.
Yeah. Um, as what to expect from the fresh grad or those who work with me or with us.
Mm,
Basically, when we are looking for a person who can communicate,
right.
right? Who doesn't work in silo, which
Mm,
is as cliche as it sounds, but yeah, we don't want a person who keeps silent when they have problems. We
mm,
were looking for someone who uh, uh, know when to reach out.
mm,
When they doesn't know or they don't think they can complete the work in due time, that message has to be delivered to the higher or superior or me myself,
mm,
so that it's not that for me to blame or to bash or to find faults whatsoever, but so
mm,
that I could manage how to mitigate the damages
mm,
if the possibility of not completing the work on
mm,
time. So we can do that and we can plan as a team. So we're looking for someone who can work in that manner.
mm,
Yes, we understood those who just fresh grad couldn't deliver the job as compared to those who have 10 years experience.
mm,
But after a while, I have a fresh grad student who getting paid as much as those who are been working for like 7 or 8 years.
mm,
Not because like I don't really 7 8 years, but the quality or the work have been delivered is just at par, right? So if you have like 2 weeks project and the same guy have 2 weeks project, you deliver at the same time, so they will get the same amount of work. So
mm.
that's how I value the. So for the what was the question again? For the second
Is is
question.
moonlighting a concern when the hour is so
Oh yeah,
flexi?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. Actually, we cannot stop those who wish to have to do moonlighting
Mm,
to during our time. Even those when they are working at firm,
mm,
if they decided to do moonlighting, they will do it anyway. So how to do it?
yeah.
Actually, for me, I will openly say that if you want to do moonlighting, by all means do. So
Mm,
because I learned from my personal experience. For example, when
mm,
I was working, I did other job. I did part-time job. So that
mm,
was when I think I get um not to say smart, but I get to know more
mm,
better sales. I'm paying more attention to the BQs, so and such. But differently for this particular time, I open for them to do moonlighting if they want to. There's someone uh, en, engage them, approach them for a renovation. Sorry, a renovation job, for example. They want to do it by themselves. By all means, do. If they want to use the printer office, please do. Don't have to go outside, print somewhere outside. Just pay the company for the printing. And if you want for me to sign for your project, I have to be part in the loop of the projects. Then at the end of the day, it's not moonlighting anymore.
mm,
They are doing the job on the firm and they are bringing the job for the firm. In
mm.
that way, they are more, what we call it, interested, or what was the term you used just now?
Uh-huh.
Motivated. They
Motivated.
are more motivated to do, yeah, because they earn more actually, yeah,
Yeah.
compared to job that I get and I give to them.
Mm,
When they get, they I share most and they have most of the fees actually.
mm,
So yeah, so that's how I encourage them to contribute to the company, and I contribute to them. And at the end of the day, it's a cycle that they wouldn't want to work somewhere else anymore.
right.
So at the end of the day, they are working with me and they have project. They're bringing project. They don't care to bring project to the company because they know they will get paid more as
Mm.
compared to yeah.
Okay, that's a good way to look at it. To
At the end of
spin
the day,
this,
is how we deal with them. Yeah.
to spin quite a dire situation into a positive one. Thank you so much, Azwar, for the time and the insight. I attest all of you can follow Architect Azizul Azwar on Facebook for his excellent writing. And also don't forget to subscribe to QWA YouTube channel. Thank you for joining us. Until the next one. Take care. Bye. If you enjoyed the session, be sure to subscribe to QWA YouTube channel so you will be notified if a new episode is posted. Thank you for listening. Until next time.